They landed under fire, crossed rivers under shells, and fought through the heart of a continent. For over a century, they have borne the weight of battle and the pride of a nation. This is the story of the 11th Infantry Regiment, a unit whose courage stretched from the trenches of France to the final victory in Europe. They called them the Red Diamond Infantry. Their motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. The 11th Infantry Regiment was born on May 3, 1861, as the nation plunged into civil war. They fought for the Union in some of the most desperate campaigns of that conflict, from Bull Run to Gettysburg and the brutal siege of Petersburg. By war's end, they had carved a reputation for discipline and valor. In the decades that followed, the regiment served across the expanding American frontier and overseas, in the Indian Wars, Cuba, and the Philippine insurrection, proving itself again and again wherever the flag was carried. When the United States entered World War I in 1917, the 11th Infantry became part of the 5th Division, under the command of Major General John E. McMahon. They landed in France in the spring of 1918, young, untested, but ready. Their first great test came along the Marne River, where they faced fierce German resistance. Then, in the St. Mihiel offensive, they broke through heavily fortified lines, capturing key objectives and hundreds of prisoners. But it was in the Meuse-Argonne offensive that the 11th's legend was forged. Fighting in dense forests and shattered towns, they pressed forward despite withering machine gun fire and terrible losses. By the armistice on November 11, 1918, the regiment had earned the French Croix de Guerre and the admiration of Allied commanders. The Red Diamond Division had proved itself among the finest fighting forces on the Western Front. In the interwar years, the 11th Infantry Regiment served across the United States and its territories, honing its tactics, modernizing its weapons, and preparing for an uncertain future. When the storm of World War II broke, the 11th stood ready once again, part of the 5th Infantry Division, led by Major General Stafford Leroy Irwin. Their journey to battle began in the icy North Atlantic. Before D-Day, before Normandy, the 11th Infantry Regiment was already overseas. In August 1941, the regiment was deployed to Iceland, part of the American occupation force that protected vital convoy routes against German U-boats. There, they endured months of freezing winds, isolation, and constant vigilance. Their first taste of the global war to come. By the summer of 1944, the 11th Infantry was called to action in Europe itself. In July 1944, the 11th Infantry Regiment landed in Normandy, joining Patton's Third Army. Their mission? To break through German defenses and drive deep into France. The fighting was brutal. The hedgerows of Normandy became killing fields, every field a fortress, every village a trap. But the 11th pressed on, capturing Angers, Chartres, and Verdun, and driving the enemy before them. By late summer, the Red Diamond Division, with the 11th at its core, had reached the Moselle River. There, they faced one of their toughest battles. At Arneville, on September 10, 1944, the 11th Infantry forced a crossing of the Moselle under withering artillery and machine gun fire. Boats capsized, bridges were blown apart, yet the regiment held firm on the far bank. For days, they fought off counterattacks from German tanks and infantry, refusing to yield an inch. Their stand secured the bridgehead for the rest of the 5th Division, paving the way for the capture of Metz, one of the most heavily fortified cities in Europe. For their heroism at Arneville and Metz, the 11th Infantry Regiment received the Presidential Unit Citation. Then came the coldest winter of the war, the Battle of the Bulge. In December 1944, the 11th Infantry fought in Luxembourg and the Ardennes, facing desperate German counterattacks in snow and ice. Through the blizzards and darkness, they held their lines, protecting vital roads and bridges that prevented the German advance. Their endurance and fighting spirit turned the tide in the Allies' favor once again. In March 1945, the 11th Infantry helped spearhead the crossing of the Rhine River, the final gateway to the heart of Germany. They advanced through Frankfurt, Nuremberg, and into Czechoslovakia, capturing thousands of prisoners as Nazi resistance collapsed. By May 8, 1945, the war in Europe was over. The 11th Infantry Regiment had fought across the breadth of a continent, from the beaches of Normandy to the gates of Prague. After the war, the 11th Infantry Regiment continued to serve with distinction in Germany, Korea, and Vietnam, carrying forward the legacy of courage that defined their forebears. Their motto still echoes across generations: Semper Fidelis, always faithful.